Okay, gonna start all over. So, Molly, I just started the recording. So, I just want to say thank you for coming on and talking to us today about something that's really, really, really important. And it's about staying focused while we're driving. In a world that's so many distractions, from our phones to social media to just the radio, like all the things, it's certainly not what it was when I got my driver's license, which was we didn't have cell phones. It really was like music was like the thing to be distracted by, or the radio. But now there's more things than ever before, with even marketing and advertising going on around us, like just all the things. And you're here to share your story with us. So I'm just super happy that you're here, and that you've taken something, a true tragedy, and really turned it into something pretty amazing and a movement across the United States. So thank you for coming. And I would love for you to share your story, and then the epidemic that's happening, and then really the solution and the movement that we're all going to talk about. So with that, yeah, let's start there. Let's talk about the second that changed your life, literally.
All right. I was a student at Auburn University, majoring in journalism, and I had just gotten a job on the school newspaper. So I had taken some interviews on this little tape recorder. It was way before the iPhone or any of that awesome technology. It was just a simple record and play device. And one weekend, my best friend called and said she was on her way home from campus. Well, she went to school in Europe at the time, so she was rarely home. So I just had to go see her. So I packed up my stuff, went home to see her, and then on the return trip back, I believe I was listening back to the interviews um, on the way back to campus, dropped the recorder, reached back down to pick it up as I went clear across the median and head over the pickup truck. Now, I don't remember the accident itself from months before, but the entire thing was recorded on tape. From the country song I was listening to the sound of this gentleman saying, "Breathe easy, help is on the way," to the sirens and paramedics, and then it just cuts off. So that's the only reason why I think I was distracted by the recorder.
Right. So literally a second, a split second in time, and literally changed your life forever. And I just want to go back to this statistic. This is really interesting. So statistically, like one moment, a second in time, 8 lives are lost every single day from people who are distracted driving. And this is 100% preventable. So this is really, really interesting. So it says here you were almost number nine. And what's interesting is now what you're actually doing to recover. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But this epidemic that's happening with distracted drivers. So let's talk about that with teens, adults, all of it, right? And then the impact from the hidden costs, the financial strain, the false sense of security, like all of it, in thinking that we have this ability to multitask and do all these things.
Yeah, my favorite group to talk to is anyone about the age of 14. I mean, teens are so vulnerable and they think they're invisible and um they've got to change that belief.
Right? Yeah. That the whole teams thinking they're invincible. Yes. That's always a thing that yeah, I don't think that they realize. But even adults, right? Like adults are in such a busy society in like everything that there is to be distracted by and doing and just all of that. It's the, again, we never know what a split second what'll actually happen. By being distracted. And so let's talk about the hidden costs of like what this has financially cost you and your family, because I think that's a really important piece. So when people actually get present to the impact, sometimes that has them look at it very differently.
Well, first of all, there's all the surgeries that I had. Um, well, first of all, the car itself was totaled, and but then all the surgeries I had um add up, um, and then to go to physical, occupational, and speech therapy, it all costs an arm and a leg. So,
That's crazy. So, why are we talking about this? For those of you who have followed me long enough, it's the 5 Ds: death, divorce, diagnosis, downsized, and being dumped. This is like, again, a form of obviously diagnosis. And then as a result, like Molly, the impact it had on you, because you were in college, you like had this young, beautiful life that you were like living your dream, right? And in a split second, it all goes away, right? And so from that, like so you were in the hospital, and then as I understand it, you ended up going and living, was it back with your parents?
um, I went to the hospital and I was there for about a month, and then they told my family, she's really not making any progress or coming out of her coma, so we're gonna have to send her home with y'all. And my family was in shock. They were like, no, we can't take her home. She doesn't know who we are. But the doctors reassured my family and said that sometimes when a patient goes home, certain scents and sounds can bring them right out. So one day I was just lying around in my bed as usual, and my sister came in and started to play Bible songs, and I started to mouth along to the words, and it all began there. Shepherd Center sent me home with a webcam to monitor my progress, and I had a couple more criteria to do before I could go back to the hospital for more intense therapy.
Right. So it's wonderful that your family was able to, trigger that to have your memory and start coming back and all the things. And there's still like the financial devastation that happened, to you, to your family, all the things moving forward, the career that you sacrificed, right? And then your legacy. Like, I'm clear that this wasn't the dream that you thought that you would live, but what's extraordinary is what you're choosing to do with it, right? And from the legacy that you thought you were going to have, which was being a journalist, to now, let's talk about you have formed a nonprofit. Is that right? So let's talk about that and talk about the mission that you're on inside of raising the awareness and having people be present to this and more responsible about this.
Um, Great. Well, I thought I was gonna wind up as a reporter and or a newspaper writer, but I ended up founding a nonprofit motivational speaking company which educates others on the dangers of distracted driving. I have talked on TEDx to the legislation of Georgia, but my favorite group to talk to is high school or college kids, um, students. So, um, but it's important, as you had mentioned, Catherine, even adults. I think anyone age 14 plus. Um, but I also came up with these little car magnets that say, "Thank you for keeping your eyes on the road." And you get to choose the eye color shade that you want.
That's incredible. I love that. So how can do you have a website or something that people can get those from?
Yes, it's just a secondlater.com.
So a secondlater.com. And then the proceeds that for this, what is it that you're that the proceeds go towards? Because I know you got a really good cause here.
Well, um, they go to towards transportation, any of the videos that I need, my PowerPoint, and just any material that I need for my talks. And it also goes towards helpers for me, like to help me walk and um, get on stage and so.
Towards your therapy and stuff.
Mhm.
And of course, all of this is the whole purpose is, you know, so that you can continue to share this message and, you know, again, educate people on all of this to be able to keep their eyes on the road, which is really important, which is really
Mhm.
interesting. So here's what I love about this. Like, um, I don't love that you went through a tragedy, but what I do love is that how you've used a tragedy and you've turned it into good, right? And so I would love for you to talk about the that you have talked to legislation about this.
Um, it was the Georgia legislation, and I was one of many people who shared their stories, and I was just able to share my story with them and have them eventually decide on the hands-free bill in Georgia. It's one where you get a ticket and certain costs associated with it if you're actually physically holding the phone while you drive. You can touch it, but which doesn't make any sense to me, but you can't hold it.
So they changed that law.
Mhm.
That's really fascinating.
It was back in 2017, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. So now you go around to high schools and colleges and talk to those students, right?
Yes. It's one of my loves. But the problem is I'm not able to speak to that many because schools you have to have a contact and otherwise they just view you as someone off the street and who doesn't know what they're talking about. So, but anyways,
So here's what's interesting about this is I love that you're raising awareness and especially for the teens. So it's interesting because I have a bunch of friends that have uh, kids coming into the age where they're learning to test drive. And I was actually just the other day on social media and saw a few parents posting about that they're starting to, kids are taking lessons and just the stress of all of that. But it's the deeper understanding of having this conversation with our teens and of course with ourselves. And of course it's the whole like remember when I was teaching my twins how to drive, it's the what's caught, not what's taught, right? Like if I could say something, but if I wasn't living it out, that's a whole other thing. And so as adults and parents, like what is it that our kids are actually seeing us do? Are they seeing us be distracted while, texting or talking, like whatever it is on our phones? Or are they seeing us, like, are they catching us and witnessing us being responsible and putting that down and just focusing on driving and staying focused on that? And one of the things that I always taught my kids is like, the most important thing is defensive driving. So you need to be paying attention to all the drivers around you. I mean, there's so many times, more times than I can count, where people were swerving into my lane or whatever. Again, I assumed that they were on their phone, again, not paying attention, things like that. And in a split second, it could be completely over, which is interesting. So when we're teaching my twins how to drive, one of my girlfriends, they wrote up a driving contract. And the driving contract had all these agreements inside of it. And one of them was the distracted driving agreement. And there were consequences for breaking that, which was really interesting. So, I would say, as parents, having a driver's contract and really going over it with your kids and having your kids like listen, to Molly. Molly, you said that you've done a TED Talk, right? So how can they find that TED Talk? Do they just look up TED Talk and Molly Welch?
You go on YouTube. I have many several videos. Um Also my TED Talk is on there. And so yeah.
So yeah, I think that that would be a very, very helpful video and very sobering video to have our kids and even us watch, which is important today. And then the other piece is that there's apps that you can use, family driving apps that will actually track not only your kids driving and all of that, but also the amount of times that they're actually touching their phones. And I use that with my kids as well. Again, it's just a repetitive thing to teach them, get them in the habit of just not touching their phone while they're driving, because we want them to have good driving habits. Because again, it wasn't a phone for you, it was a tape recorder. But again, it was an electronic that you were distracted by. So it's just, again, the importance of this conversation is so important. And it goes back to, what I talk about, which is the seven streams of passive income, right? And that the average millionaire has seven streams of passive income. And why do we talk about this? It's because, again, the purpose is we never know what's going to happen to us. Molly, it's not like you had planned for this. It's not like you ever imagined, your parents, like nobody would imagine that this would have to happen to you. And nobody imagines like the other five D's, like death, divorce, diagnosis, downsized, or being dumped. This is a diagnosis for you. And the long-term implication of this and the impact has been huge. Like, yes, I love that you've turned tragedy into, making an impact, which is really great. And there's a whole lot that comes with that, that by having those multiple streams of passive income, if tragedy hits your family at all, at least you're able to actually deal with it, which is really important. So this is just another like message within a message within a message that's so, so, so important. So for questions and comments, we're going to come back on Thursday and we're going to do a Q&A about this. And I would love people, if they want to bring their kids, their teens, to talk about this. Like, this is really important, and to join the hands-free movement. This is really, really important. There's so much opportunity for us to be distracted, but then of course we can also use technology to be able to stay focused, right? Use apps and stuff that allow us to be hands-free, apps that stop our phone from distracting us while we are driving, making sure we find balance, and talking about this openly, which is really important. But the whole point being is that to join the hands-free movement, because this is really, really, really important. We're going to come back on Thursday, Molly, and we're going to do a Q&A session. We're going to answer some more questions about all of this and more of your message and what you're doing. But again, how can people get a hold of you if they want you to come talk to their kids' schools?
They can either go on my or email me at a second later media at gmail.com, or they can go on either Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. All you have to do is pull up a second later, and then my page will be there, and you can just message me. So either of those ways, um, I don't want to give my phone number out,
Right.
but but just remember a second later, and you're good.
Yeah, I love that. So go to a second later and you can see her story and email her there. So, Molly, I just want to thank you for coming on and being so brave and taking like a huge tragedy and turning it into like really making an impact across the nation. This is really inspiring. Like, nothing is stopping you. So I love
Mhm.
this. So thank you for coming on, and we will come back on Thursday and do Q&A with you and get more questions answered and keep raising this awareness that is so critical to our society today. So thank you. You're amazing.
Thanks. Have
Absolutely.
a good bye.
Okay, bye, sweetie.